Remind yourself in your offices and in your life, if you're a master communicator, then you got to make sure that you commit to the vitality track and not the cancer track. Do you remember what the difference was between those two? I'll give you a little reminder here. The cancer track is what most people do who destroy their relationships, their businesses, and their personal life. And what it is, when we have an expectation and it doesn't get met, what kind of state do we usually go into? Depressed, what else? Frustrated, angry, disappointed, disillusioned, what else? Hurt, okay? And we go into the basically emotional states that we've got patterns of going into. Most people have a disillusioned state or hurt or angry. What's the first thing most people do? As soon as they got an upset, they immediately look for somebody to lay blame on. True or false? True. And does that usually make it better, yes or no? Does that build a better team? Does that create a quality environment with quality communication and quality results, yes or no? No way. And by the way, people don't just blame, like, let's say, the doctor or their staff members. Most people do blame others, but some people just blame themselves. Does blaming yourself motivate you to really become better? Rarely. And some people don't blame themselves, they blame circumstances. Well, it's not my fault, it's because this and this and that. You know, the truth of the matter is we can always find a reason why something isn't working. But the bottom line is we have to be responsible for the results. Now, what do some people do? They go, okay, well, now that I'm done laying blame, that's not enough. I'm angry, and I need to make sure I feel justified, so they go to step 2. They justify and complain to other people. Go out there and subgroup. We talked about this before. Now, how many have seen this happen in your office amongst anybody in the last 60 days? Let's see some honest hands. How does it feel, again, when somebody, let's say, talks behind your back? When somebody subgroups, and 2 people get together and say, oh, so-and-so's there. How does that feel to you? Yeah. If you keep doing that, what's going to be the ultimate impact on your relationships? It's going to destroy them. It's going to screw them up royally. You've got to stay out of that place and promise yourself and commit not to subgroup. But if you've got an upset, who should you handle that upset with? That person directly. Third thing people do is after they get enough people, and they all say, yeah, I'm upset too. By the way, what are your chances of finding somebody else who's upset? Somebody else whose expectations are not been met. What's the chances of finding somebody like that? About 100%, right? It's called life. Then what happens? You get these people together and you sit down and resent and brew, right? And get worse and worse and more angry until finally what somebody does is usually confront somebody. And they say, look, I was honest, and they didn't respond. Confronting is not the style we want to use. And lastly, what most people do is after they confront is they give up and seek revenge. We don't want to do that. We want instead, as master communicators, to go for the alternative we talked about last time, which is the vitality track, which is where you get excited and appreciate the feelings that you're having. Where immediately you say, okay, I got these feelings, they're intense, I feel angry or upset. That's exciting. I need to appreciate the fact that my brain is telling me that I need to change something. Because we all found out last time, negative emotions are a signal. They're a call to what? Do you remember? Action. If you got negative emotions, something's hurting. What it's saying to you is you need to change either the way you're looking at this, your perception, or you got to change your actions. The way you're doing it, the way you're communicating, the way you're making requests. So if you're feeling negative feelings, you don't want to feel bad about it. You want to say, okay, this is great. This is my brain trying to give me a note. I need to get curious about what is it that I really need right now. And I need to think of what else could this situation mean. I'm really upset about it, but what else could it mean? Maybe the doctor raising his voice to me or her voice to me isn't they don't care about me. Maybe they're stressed. Maybe I ought to see if I can support that person. Maybe I need to soften the way I'm feeling about this and not say I'm devastated, but say, you know, I'm a little frustrated with the way they're treating me. Maybe I need to go and communicate as soon as possible to that person that, you know, I know they have good intent and I'd really appreciate it if they changed their style of communicating with me because it just doesn't feel good and I want to support them. And if I do that enough and I focus on meeting this person's needs, I'm going to probably meet my needs. So as a master communicator, what we're doing is controlling meaning, and we're making sure that when we have negative emotions, we don't see them as a negative, we see them as a call to action, a chance to change.
We spend a lot of time talking about mindset from the standpoint of think positive, so positive things happen. And I do believe in having a positive mindset, obviously. I think that the actions that you take are way more important in terms of developing that mindset. But we don't spend enough time on what you were just talking about, which is understanding how the automatic nature of worrying about stuff all day long, how that is making you less money, how it is making you less happy, how it is disconnecting you from your spouse, how it is keeping you unhealthy, and how it is a habit that robs you of joy and opportunity and power. And it is one of the easiest habits to break. Number one, your life happens in 5-second windows. Number two, in 5 seconds, you can control what you think, you can decide what you're going to do, and you can change absolutely anything, which changes absolutely everything. And so the 5-second rule is a mind trick. That's all that it is. A fancy way to call it is it's a form of metacognition, but it's basically a hack. It's a cheat code.
Okay.
And the way that it works, and this is the challenge with getting it out there, is that it sounds so profoundly stupid, like a gimmick, that it took a while for people to actually take it seriously.
I get that.
And to really stack up the science to make, anybody that interacts with it go, holy shit, like this actually works.
Yeah.
So here's what it is. Basically, the moment you catch yourself hesitating or doubting or starting to worry or about to chicken out or shrink or shut up or whatever it is that you're about to do that is shrinking your power, you just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. What happens when you do that? Don't do it out loud because it'll scare somebody. Like a psycho. And I mean, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm talking. Yes, exactly. No.
My turn.
Yes, exactly. Although, I say it's so simple that people use it with their kids.
This is a Saturday Night Live skit in the making, right?
Totally.
I can see this.
I would love that because that means I've really made it.
True.
Your kids will use it on you. So my kids will use it on me. So if I have a certain tone that comes out, I'll hear my 12-year-old go 5, 4, 3, watch that tone, Mom, or Mom, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I thought you were going to go to the gym. Yes. So by counting backwards, the kind of cheat code that you're doing in your mind is you are interrupting what are called habit loops that get encoded in the central part of your brain. And you are starting up the prefrontal cortex. It's a little trick that causes focus, and it's a lot like having a mantra because you're shifting gears. But the thing about having a mantra is, and I suppose that as you count backwards more and more and more, you become used to it, but it becomes a habit that triggers action. So what you do is go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, cut off this part of the brain, awaken this part of the brain, and then move. And what happens with the counting backwards is there's nowhere to go after 1. And your mind is socialized in a countdown situation to go.
Yep.
And so counting up won't work because you can keep going
forever.
and you do it in many aspects of your life. So it's actually not something that requires any focus.
The game of business is an infinite game, right? It obeys all the rules. There are known and unknown players. You don't know all the competitors necessarily in one industry to another. The rules are changeable. We haven't all agreed what the rules are. And there is no winning the game of business, right? The game just perpetuates. In fact, the game of business has existed longer than every single company on the planet today, and it will outlast every single company on the planet today. If you look at the Dow Index of 30-something odd companies that make up the Dow Index, something like 70 or 80% of those companies are 35 years or younger, right? So it gets me thinking, if you listen to the language that companies use, they don't know what game they're in. They talk about being number one. Talk about beating their competition based on what agreed upon criteria, based on what agreed upon time frame. Is it market share? Is it profits? Is it revenues? Square footage, number of employees? Over what? 1 month, 5 months, 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, the life of the company? I haven't agreed to those rules. And so companies can arbitrarily declare themselves number one in anything they want if they set the standards and the time frames. And the only reason we do these things on an annualized basis, we tend to compare ourselves to other organizations annually, is only because we pay taxes annually. If we paid taxes every 18 months, that would be sort of the standard. But again, we still haven't agreed what the metrics are to be number one. That means the companies that are playing the infinite game are playing against most of the others who are playing the finite game, means those finite companies find themselves in quagmire. Almost Every single bankruptcy, not almost every single bankruptcy is a company that's run out of the will or the resources to play. They drop out of the game. The game will persist. Another company will fill their space. It's not like the business stops or the industry ends. And the companies that are playing the infinite game will frustrate those finite players, which I absolutely adore. So I spoke at an education summit for Microsoft. I also spoke at an education summit for Apple. Now, I would say about 70 to 80% of the executives at Microsoft spent about 70 to 80% of their PowerPoints talking about how to beat Apple. At the Apple Summit, 100% of the executives spent 100% of their presentations talking about how to help teachers teach and how to help students learn. One was obsessed with their journey, with their vision, with their cause. The other one was obsessed with their competition. Guess who's stuck in quagmire? Guess who's frustrated by their competition?
Let me tell you, in order to have something different, you are going to have to do something different. In order to have something more, you have to do something you haven't done yet. I had to say the things I didn't want to say, do the things I didn't feel like doing to have the life I know I wanted. Period. Period. And all I did was give instructions for here, do this bite size, do this bite size, do this bite size, digestible, palatable pieces of what you can do. Does that sound good, you guys? And when you look up, and you don't have to have a magnificent change over 12 months, have a small change over 30 days, and then a small change over 30 days, your breakthrough will come in needlepoint moves. And you'll look up in 5 years and not recognize your life.
Follow your passion first. First. And when I retired from the game, I sat there asking kind of all the wrong questions. What's the biggest industry I can get into? And it's all the wrong stuff. And you got to sit there and ask yourself, okay, what am I truly passionate about? What do I enjoy doing? And when you feel that way, honestly, you feel like you have never worked a day in your life. It's the most fun thing in the world. You get up in the morning excited about what you're doing. And you got to be really honest with yourself about it. If you wake up in the morning and you're dreading going to work, do something else. Right. Do something else. And those are hard decisions to make. But when you make those decisions, it's a very liberating experience. And you find out that the rewards will come.
Don't you have some measure of health? Ain't you working? You may not have the car you want, but don't you have a car? You ain't homeless. Now, when you start tripping and you get depressed, you got to go into yourself and come up with some gratitude. You can't be discouraged and grateful at the same time. I woke up, I just wasn't on the right side of the bed. Went downstairs, I pull out a list of everything I'm grateful for. I thank God for 75 things every morning. By the time I got to 13, I was fine. I'm alive, I'm breathing, I'm healthy. I'm finna go do a job. They finna pay me. My grandkids is healthy. My children is healthy. That's how you do it. That's how you come back. It works.
Anybody can praise God when life is turning out the way you expected it. But it takes great faith to praise God in the middle of uncertainty, when things aren't coming together the way you strategize for them to be. Sometimes God will give you an anointing that's older than you. He'll pour you out something and then release unto you, and you will walk in a glory that exceeds your years. He'll give you a glory that goes beyond your experience. Young men and young women with old men's anointing on their lives.
Imagine the worst case scenario. Visualize yourself being more than able and capable of handling it. And I used to have a tremendous inferiority complex about speaking before people because I'm not college trained. I used to feel that college people were the most intelligent people on the planet. And so I had to visualize myself speaking before various audiences that had more going for them than I did, and appreciate my own value and that I was a worthwhile person, even though I didn't have the money, I didn't have the education that they had. Seeing yourself being worthy, being capable to make you a worthwhile person, and that you're more than able. You've got to see it in your mind's eye and know that you've got what it takes. I must see in my mind's eye, see myself handling my fears. I'm more than able.
Someone says, aren't you worried about your child? He's not getting better. Just answer, no, I'm not worrying. I'm abiding. I'm trusting. I'm believing. I know that God's in control. Well, you lost that big contract. Aren't you upset? No, I know I'm connected to the vine, to a supply line that will never run dry. Not going to live stressed. I'm abiding. I'm at peace. I know another opportunity is coming. What about the medical report? Doesn't look good. Yes, but I'm not moved by what I see. I'm moved by what I know. God is restoring health back unto me. I'm depending on Him. I'm relying on Him. I'm going to relax, knowing that nothing can snatch me out of His hand. Are you striving or are you abiding? There are plenty of opportunities to strive. We can all live worried, stressed, trying to fix everything in our own strength. That's overwhelming. Come back to a place of peace. The scripture says your Father knows what you need. He knows what you're facing. He knows the dreams He's placed in your heart. He sees the struggles, the unfair situations, the times you were put at a disadvantage. You don't have to do life on your own, trying to make up for it, trying to accomplish the dream. Jesus said, come to me and I will give you rest. Stop your striving, depending on your own efforts, your own ability. That's draining. If you'll start depending on Him, you'll feel that load lift off of you, because God has you in the palm of His hand. He hasn't let go of you. You may not be connected to Him, but He's not disconnected from you. If you're going to feel His strength, see His favor, you have to stay connected to the vine. You can only do so much in your own effort. But when you get up each day and say, God, I'm not going to worry today. I'm not going to live frustrated by what I can't change. God, I'm depending on You. I can't do this on my own, but I know connected to You, I can do all things. Connected to You, I can accomplish my dream. Connected to You, I will see this problem turn around. It's significant that Jesus used fruit in this illustration. We have some lemon trees in our backyard. I see the lemons out there hanging on the vine. They're just abiding. They're not struggling. They're not frustrated, thinking, why am I not growing faster? How am I going to change from green to yellow? I'm the wrong color. What if I don't ripen? I've never walked by and heard a lemon complaining. I've never seen a worried lemon. They just hang there drawing strength from the vine. They're not stressed because they know as long as they're connected to the source, to the vine, they're going to get everything that they need. And sometimes we wonder, how can I accomplish my dream? What if I don't meet the right person? What if I don't get this scholarship? No, as long as you're connected to the vine, you don't have to worry. It's not your job to figure everything out. There are things that you can't see because you're the fruit. You're not the vine. The vine is where the lemon is getting nutrients. That's what's causing it to develop pulp, grow seeds on the inside, turn from a flower blossom to form a thick outer skin. Quit worrying about how everything is going to work out. God has already planned out all of your days. There's not a problem you have or will ever have that He doesn't have a solution. He's the one that's going to cause you to bloom. Like that lemon, He's developing in you what you need to blossom, to grow, to fulfill your purpose. You shouldn't live with that unrest on the inside, thinking that you're limited. Because you're connected to the vine, you can stay in peace. God is bringing the nutrients you need, the right people, the right breaks, the healing, the favor. At the appointed time, you'll ripen. You're going to go from green to yellow, so to speak. You're going to see doors open. The medical report turn around. The dream will come to pass. Now do your part. Quit striving and start abiding. Live from a place of peace, a place of rest. When you're tempted to worry, try to force things to happen, just say, no thanks, I'm connected to the vine. God, I'm depending on You, so I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy this day, knowing that You promised I will bear much fruit. Most of the good breaks I've seen in my life, they've come when I was simply abiding, just being my best, honoring God. I walked into a jewelry store and met Victoria. I wasn't trying to force it. God, when am I going to meet someone? Frustrated. I was simply abiding, and the blessing came to me. When we needed a larger auditorium, we tried to buy property. Twice those doors closed. I was disappointed, but I did what I'm asking us to do. I said, God, You're in control. I'm not going to live frustrated, trying to make something happen. I trust You. I know You know what's best. I came back to that place of peace and just kept abiding, kept being faithful. One day, out of the blue, a friend called and said the Compact Center was coming available. I called the mayor, things fell into place, and here we are. The Compact Center came to me. I was trying to make it happen in my own strength. Buying that property, I knew God put the desire in me. I had bigger dreams, but it wasn't the right time. God is so merciful, He'll close doors when it's not His best. It's important to trust God's timing. When we know the dream is in our heart, we know what God promised, we go after it, we take steps of faith, and that's good. I'm not saying to sit back, but you have to be open that if it doesn't happen the way you thought, then God has something better. That closed door is God protecting you. But sometimes we get impatient. We think we're missing out, we're falling behind, but I've learned what belongs to you is not going to go to anyone else. What has your name on it will come to you. Instead of trying to force things, relax. Stay in peace. God's ordering your steps. He's already lined up what you need to fulfill your destiny. If it hasn't happened yet, it wasn't the right time. If the door closed, something better is coming. You don't have to manipulate things, try to convince people to like you, force the doors to open. Let the blessings come to you. If you're having to connive and convince, you're frustrated, can't sleep at night, you need to let that go and trust God to do it His way. This is where Abraham and Sarah missed it. God gave them the promise that they would have a child. But instead of abiding, trusting God's timing, they were impatient. Nothing was happening. They got frustrated and decided to help God out. Sarah told Abraham to sleep with her maid. They had a son that they named Ishmael, but he wasn't the promised child. It wasn't Ishmael's fault, but that baby caused all kinds of strife and contention. It's much better to wait for the right thing than to have to deal with an Ishmael. Things we birth in our own effort. That's what causes us heartache and pain. If your promise is not happening on your timetable, trust that God knows what He's doing. He knows what's best. Instead of striving like they did, I'm going to have this baby. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to marry this person even though I don't have peace. I'm going to buy this house even though it's not what I really want. Oh, be patient. Don't settle for second best. Just because it hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it's not going to happen. Keep abiding. Keep doing the right thing. Your time is coming. The truth is, we've all probably birthed some Ishmael. We've all forced some things to happen. But here's how good God is. That didn't stop the promise. God doesn't say, man, you blew it. You quit abiding. Now it's not going to happen. No, 20 years after God gave Abraham the promise. This was after they had Ishmael, after they had made mistakes. Sarah got pregnant at 90 years old and gave birth to Isaac, the promised child. And it may be taking longer than you thought, but don't water down your dream. Don't settle for less than what you know God put in your heart. You don't have to make it happen only in your own strength. Yes, use your gifts. Do what you can, but don't force things. You keep abiding and Isaac is coming. At the right time, you're going to see God show out in your life. In the meantime, relax. Enjoy where you are.
We're all biochemically unique, but there are rules you and I both know scientifically that if we violate them, our energy drops. If we align, and we're gonna have disease, if we align with them, high energy. So that's the science of achievement. Get there quicker. How do you do it? One, obsess about what you want, right? Focus on it continuously. Have so much emotion about it that you take massive action. Keep changing your approach. Model somebody really great. And then with some grace, take some grace too.
Yep.
Some call it luck. Some call it God. If you do the first 3 steps, that 4th step usually kicks you over. But the more important lesson, and the one that I'm obsessed by getting people's minds, and I really appreciate me planting the seed with everybody, the one that'll change your life more is the art of fulfillment. And I say the art of fulfillment because what will turn you on, excite you, fulfill you, is going to be different than this man here who I know is your friend behind the camera, and this beautiful lady here. It doesn't matter how close we all still are fulfilled by slightly different things. And so, what I really want is, I believe that success without fulfillment is the ultimate failure. And I really want people to be fulfilled, even more so, because billionaires, that sounds ridiculous, but they're a dime a dozen. That's an exaggeration. Lots of people become billionaires. What's a hell of a lot more rare is someone who loves life every single day and stays happy when it doesn't go their way. There's nothing worse than an angry rich man, an angry rich man. You want to slap them. It's like they have every benefit in life. But that's what the human mind does. The human brain is 2 million years old, and this is not designed to make you happy. It's designed to make you survive. And survival, it does it by fear. So what the brain does is looks for, what do I need to fight or flight from? And so it's always looking for what's wrong. And our minds can take us over unless your heart is what's running you. So what I try to do is show people how to shift that. And I try to do it 2 ways. One is I jolt them. Now, one way you can do that is that about 2 years ago, we lost what I consider to be a national treasure, Robin Williams.
Yes.
How much did you enjoy or love Robin Williams?
He was incredible. And when I heard that news, it was just like everything stopped. And it was devastating to think also that it's like.
Well, if you think about it, here's a guy. I met him once. I was at a TED Talk, and he loved it, and it was my birthday, and he came, and he stood in a restaurant, surprised me, and started singing happy birthday to me as a Jewish woman, as a Russian, all these things. He was such a beautiful soul, and I've never lost to suicide, and I had no idea that years later that's where he'd be, and he never reached out to me. But here's why I bring it up. Here's a man that was a master of the science of achievement. He knew how to take whatever he envisioned and make it real. He wanted to have his own TV show. Everyone told him it was impossible. He did it. He wanted the #1 show, Mork and Mindy. He did it. He wanted a beautiful family. He did it. He wanted to make more money than he could ever spend. He did it. He wanted to make movies. He did it. He wanted to make movies and win an Academy Award for not being funny, his #1 skill. And he did it, right? He wanted to make the whole world laugh, and he did it. And he didn't just kill himself. He hung himself in his own home.
It's self-full to be first, to be as good as possible to you, to take care of you, to keep you whole and healthy. That doesn't mean that you disregard everything and everyone, but you want to come with your cup full.
You have to ask for what you want and don't settle for what's available or what you think you can get. Say it again. They told me say it again. A spiritual code of conduct says that you have to ask for what you want and do not settle for something because it's all you think you can have or because it's what's available. If you want it single, don't settle for it if it's married. Let me take a walk. If you want it easy, don't make it hard. And if you want it hard, then you gotta work with it if it's not. Ask for what you want. And ask for the things that are gonna up-level your wattage in life. Don't settle for things that are going to dim your light. Up-level your wattage. Sometimes our light be blinding us. Your light is so brilliant, it blinds you. The reflection of it shining back in your eye. And so you get confused. and you be holding on to things that do not reflect your own brilliance. Did you hear what I said? That your light, your gift, your talent, your truth can be so brilliant that it blinds you. And you end up reaching out for, holding on to, taking on, taking care of, housing, feeding, clothing, lending money to stuff that only dims your light.
That has happened so many times when a video you think's gonna hit and it doesn't, and then there's a video you're like, that's never gonna hit, and it does. And that's where I've reconciled my self-doubt, is recognizing that I don't always know what's gonna work, and that's a beautiful thing. And that I've been feeling this often, that I've got to where I want in life, just not in the way I imagined it. And that's the beauty of giving up that control and feeling slightly liberated. So I'll give an example of what I mean by that. I'm always working strategically, effectively, and impactfully in the best ways I can. But sometimes the place where I put my most energy does the worst. And sometimes something that I tried on the side like blows up, and it's incredible. And that's where I've reconciled myself down, recognizing if I'm putting my best foot forward and I'm working strategically and effectively, the things that are going to work will work. And it may not be the things I expect. And what we're doing is, or what I do sometimes too, is you're so focused on wanting one thing to work, you miss the fact that there's like 9 other things that are happening that are amazing around you that you could never have dreamed of. And I've seen that in my life countless times where I wanted one thing to work, 3 things were working over here, but I was so like, why is this not working? Like, why is this not working? That you miss that. So self-doubt for me is something that I've tried to build a close relationship with. And I get it all the time. I still get it before a post, before a video, before anything. I mean, I was just I'm working on my book right now. I just launched a podcast. And before I launched the podcast, I had no idea how well it was going to do, how badly it was going to do, or anything. And there was a part of me that was like, are people going to listen to this? Like, are people going to care? Like, I ask myself all those questions still today. Number 1, I'm glad I asked myself those questions. It means I'm human. It means that I care. It means that it's important to me. I speak at so many conferences and everyone always asks me, do you still get nervous? I go, yes, I get nervous because I care. The day I stop feeling nervous, that means I don't care anymore. If I don't care anymore, that means I don't love what I do anymore. So for me, the first thing is I recognize that self-doubt just shows me that I care and that something's important to me. Whereas I don't doubt myself around things that I don't care about. Like if you asked me a question right now about what's the recipe for this amazing dish, I wouldn't know, and I'd say, I don't know. And I'd be okay with it because I don't care about cooking. I'm not a cook, right? But if it's something that you care about, you'll have self-doubt. The second thing that I do with self-doubt is I go, okay, if that's the things that I'm doubting myself for, what strategies, what can I put into place to overcome them? Doubt is just a great way of making you check what you need to work on. So if my doubt is, oh my God, not enough people are going to listen to this. So I'm like, okay, so how do we make it more listenable? How do we make the content better? How do we make the conversation better? If my doubt is, I don't feel like people are going to like this topic. Okay, what themes am I good at talking about? What is, it's a great checking system to improve what you have. So don't look at self-doubt as negative. Turn it into a positive by actually asking yourself those questions, right? So build a relationship with self-doubt because it's never going to go away.
Right. Don't avoid it.
Don't avoid it. Definitely don't avoid it. It's never going to go away. So if it's never going to go away, build a happy, positive relationship with it. So my positive relationship with it is you're showing me what I need to focus on to feel less of that. And most of us feel self-doubt because we're not researching, we're not building knowledge, we're not building expertise. And I think that's the biggest thing for me is when I feel self-doubt, it's because I'll give a perfect example. When I was thinking about doing a podcast and you're doing interviews, you don't just become an interviewer. You have to watch interviews. You have to absorb good interviewers. You can't just be an interviewee. You have to watch good interviewees. And so for me, a lot of us start something and we feel self-doubt because we've never learned that skill or we've never observed that skill. So my focus is if I want to be a good interviewer, I need to watch good interviewers. If you want to be a good stage performer, watch good stage performers. If you want to be a good monk, watch good monks, right? You don't become something good without seeing it. So self-doubt comes because you haven't upskilled. And the great thing today is you can do an online course. You can upskill from here. You can upskill from there. You can just listen to this podcast and watch you guys who've done it for such a long period of time. Seeing someone who's done something consistently, that's the best way of getting good at something. And then your self-doubt will disappear. So self-doubt can only be cut by the sword of knowledge. It can only be cut by the sword of upskilling. So that's where it starts.
I kind of grew up in that space that is dangerous because it's like a slow asphyxiation, right? I grew up what I'd call like middle class, but probably the lower side of middle class too. So I think I've told you this, I think there's an advantage sometimes to growing up rich because you got connections and you see the right behaviors modeled maybe. When you're poor, a lot of my buddies that are successful now that were poor, they knew what they didn't want. They were fighting, they learned to struggle. They grew up sooner, right? They couldn't make excuses. They had to learn to be self-resilient. The middle's difficult because good's the enemy of great, right? And so it wasn't horrible. It wasn't like there wasn't food on the table. It wasn't like I didn't get a present on my birthday, right? So you kind of start to think that's what life is. No one in my family ever talked about dreaming or winning or being wealthy. Same time, we weren't really running from something either. So there was no stimulus. The stimulus when you're poor is to get out of there. The stimulus when you're rich is to replicate it. There was no stimulus from where I'm from. And so probably the rarest background when you meet somebody that's successful is the middle. It's actually the rarest that you meet somebody, they're from the middle. And so a lot of your listeners come from that place because most people are in the middle, right? And so I'm sort of, I think, an example of some of the things maybe you would need to do to get out of that space to move from good to some form of greatness in your life.
Yeah. It's comfort, right? That word comfort can be a killer, right? And so that's exactly why I wanted you to point that out, is because so many of us do come from that. And also we're maybe existing in it right now.
So true.
And how important is it to stretch ourselves and to really kind of get comfortable with discomfort?
You do. You need to do that. Malcolm X is a guy that I've read a lot about. And Malcolm X, my favorite quote of Malcolm X is that which you do not hate, you will eventually tolerate. And so there has to be this point in your life where what you want is so much greater than where you are. You're in such discomfort. In other words, the gap between what you're dreaming of, what you're destined to do, what you're capable of, you're aware of it compared to where you are. That tension between the two has a pull power to it, right? And so it's important all the time that wherever you are in life, that you're chasing that next version of you. There's this thing I'm just unbelievably passionate about. That is that I have this theory that I've told you this before, but that I think that at the end of your life, there's this place you come to. And I'm a Christian, so I think at the end of my life, I want the Lord to go, hey, well done, good and faithful servant. It doesn't matter what your faith is. You probably are aware there's history being made or an accounting. But I also think he's going to go, hey, by the way, this is who you could have been. I think he introduces you to the person you are capable of becoming. I really believe that at the end of your life, you're going to get introduced to the person you could have been, you were destined to be, that he made you to be. And so I'm chasing that dude. Every day I'm chasing that dude. That's the pull power for me. Every decision I make, the things I go through in my life, whether I'm going to go to the gym, whether I'm going to make a phone call, how I'm going to eat, does it get me closer to that guy? Because I think the best end of a life is well done by the Lord, and you're identical twins with that person. The bad end of a life would be, I meet this man I could have been, and we're total strangers. I mean, we're just complete opposites. I know nothing about this guy. There's no familiarity at all. And it means that I went down these easy roads. I took the comfortable road. The comfortable road will never lead you to the person you are destined to be, ever in your life. And so if you don't become obsessed with chasing that person, you end up never meeting him.